Sometimes it feels like the noise just never lets up, making the world seem heavier than it needs to be. Welcome to 10 Better Minutes, a podcast that shares a handful of recent stories grounded in reality, giving quiet space to moments of balance and connection. This is a place where you can notice the everyday ways people come together without pretending the struggles do not exist. For the next few minutes, you will hear about some of these smaller, steadier things happening beyond the headlines. We will begin with a story about a church in Winston-Salem that has brought people from across the political divide to help erase millions in medical debt in their community. In Winston-Salem, North Carolina, Trinity Moravian Church, a congregation of about 200 members, decided to tackle a problem that felt too heavy for one person to carry alone. The pastor, Reverend John Jackman, led their Debt Jubilee Project, a series of campaigns meant to raise donations, purchase unpaid medical debt, and have it retired. You know that frustration people feel when illness happens and the bills keep coming, no matter how careful someone tries to be. The members at Trinity shared that feeling. They were united by something simple and fair. Nobody should be pushed into a lifetime of stress just because sickness landed at their door. By the end of their 8th campaign, the church had raised more than $17,000. With that support, they helped retire more than $2.2 million in medical debt across the surrounding Forsyth County area. And then they marked the moment in a very human way. At their Jubilee ceremony, they burned a list of 1,631 names with a lighter, letting the flames stand in for release and relief. Kids from a local scouting group helped with confetti poppers and served a spaghetti lunch, turning the day into something joyful, not just symbolic. What stayed with me is how a church with mixed politics could come together around dignity and fairness. Not by arguing louder, but by acting together. That is the kind of hope that makes room for everyone to breathe. You know that uneasy feeling when you think, what if something goes wrong right in front of me? This story answers that question with ordinary people who chose action, fast. In Queensland, in Brisbane, Tyler Wiebe was driving his motorcycle to work when a crash left him pinned under a 3,300-pound car. The pressure made it hard for him to breathe, and time was suddenly very short. Rob and Brian, employees at a nearby business, heard the crash and ran over when they saw legs sticking out from beneath the vehicle. At first they tried lifting, and when it was not enough, they gathered colleagues and other good Samaritans. Together they made a second, coordinated effort, raising the car just enough to move Wiebe clear of the wheels while paramedics were on their way. After that critical moment, Tyler received surgery to stabilize his lungs. Recovery was slow but steady. And what makes the story last is what came next. Once he was able, he reunited with the men who helped him, meeting Rob and Brian in person to thank them. It is easy to imagine help as heroic, but this was also practical. Someone saw a need, others joined in, and strangers became a temporary team that bought life some time. And that is the kind of trust in people we can carry forward, because it shows what belonging looks like in real time. On June 26, 2026, a driver named Leon Segura was just heading home when something pulled his attention toward a nightmare made of light and sound. He noticed flames rising from a house, and then he heard screaming, the kind of crying that sounds too close to be ignored. He tried the front door first, kicking at it, but the heat and blocking made it impossible. So he shifted to another way in. He punched through a large glass door with his bare hand. The impact left cuts on his arm and hand, but he did not stop. Thick smoke rolled in, so he wrapped a bandana over his face and kept moving. Inside, he found 2 young girls. He carried them out one by one, holding on steady while the fire kept demanding attention. Even with his desperate effort, speed mattered, and help did not arrive late. Fort Worth Fire Department spokesperson Craig Troyashek said firefighters arrived within 4 minutes. The 2 girls Segura rescued survived. They were airlifted to burn units in critical condition, where their care could finally catch up with what they had endured. Later, Segura learned there was another child inside, and that child did not make it. And still, this story leaves room for hope. In the middle of something that felt unstoppable, one person chose action, and two families were given more time to breathe, to heal, and to believe that kindness can move fast. Have you ever wondered what hope looks like in the real world, not as a feeling, but as a living creature showing up again? Today, we are looking at a quiet kind of comeback, carried by careful conservation and patient attention. In Lomfat Wildlife Sanctuary, surveyors recently spotted a white-rumped vulture for the first time in 10 years. They found it this month near the sanctuary's Vulture restaurant, a place designed to meet the needs of scavengers that are essential to healthy ecosystems. Nature Life Cambodia has been working in the long run to make that possible, improving habitat and helping ensure a reliable food source. The sanctuary's vulture feeding station distributes a large carcass once a month, so vultures have a dependable meal when the landscape is less predictable. Nature Life Cambodia's CEO, Bu Vorsak, shared that their efforts have helped reduce poisoning cases from more than 30 per year to around 1 to 3 annually. That is not the kind of number you ignore because it tells you the work is changing outcomes. And in the same survey, the team also recorded 5 red-headed vultures, another sign that the sanctuary is drawing in birds that need protection. 10 years is a long silence, and one sighting can feel small until you remember what it means. It means the sanctuary is not only safer, it is becoming recognizable again, one bird at a time. In the Rochester, New York headquarters of Kodak, something changed quietly but firmly, not through a single speech, but through people showing up for one another. This story invites us to wonder what happens when co-workers decide that fear does not get the final word. Before Lambda formed in the 1980s, many LGBTQ+ office workers learned to measure their lives at work, staying careful, staying closed, and carrying daily stress that others rarely had to notice. The office was steady, the company proud, yet the personal cost of secrecy could feel constant. What helped was a community built from ordinary moments of choosing honesty, even when it felt risky. Kodak employees who were gay, lesbian, bisexual, and trans, along with allies, began organizing as the Lambda Network. They worked with company leaders to create events, education, and visibility through photography, and they asked for policies that reflected real lives, not assumptions. In 1993, they held their first public event featuring Deb Price, and in 1995, they invited Elizabeth Birch to speak with Kodak executives, including CEO George Fisher and his wife Anne. In 1993, Kodak officially recognized Lambda, and the momentum that followed included benefits such as domestic partner and adoption support, along with an early workplace approach to gender transitioning. Even after Kodak filed for bankruptcy in 2012 and emerged smaller, Lambda members continued to preserve records, building an archive of care and persistence. It is a reminder that culture can shift when people invest in one another's safety and when visibility becomes a shared practice. As always, I have a practical little reset for you, the kind that helps your mind feel steady again and makes it easier to notice joy in ordinary days. Today, let us talk about why progress can feel invisible, while problems seem to show up the very moment they start. Here's the truth. Pain and urgency are designed to be loud. Your brain is built to scan for danger so it can protect you. That means a setback gets immediate attention, and it often takes up the whole screen. Progress, on the other hand, is usually quiet. It happens in small, boring increments. One good choice, one honest conversation. One day you do the thing even though you do not feel ready. Try this. When you feel stuck, do not only ask what is going wrong, also ask What is changing even slightly? Then look for proof that you are moving. It might be your mood lasting a little longer before it drops. It might be how you recover faster after a rough moment. It might be that you are learning what your needs sound like. Progress is often there. You just need to train your attention to see it. Well, friends, we have reached the end of this episode of 10 Better Minutes, and I am grateful you spent a little time with me today. If all the headlines start to feel heavy, I hope this reminded you that everyday goodness is still here, in small acts of care, in people doing what is decent even when it is quiet. The world is not only noise. If you have a good news story link, or even something positive happening close to home that others might have missed, please share it in the comments. This is Ian Rhodes with 10 Better Minutes. Take care, and I will meet you again tomorrow.